everyone, and welcome to your on LinkedIn profile development. This is going to be a pretty quick lecture today, so just bear with me, watch the whole video, and then we are going to talk briefly about what LinkedIn is, talk about building a strong LinkedIn profile, and then I'm going to briefly talk about how to build a strong LinkedIn network, and then the process of using LinkedIn as a helpful job search tool. Okay, so moving into the content, what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is essentially a social networking site, but more specifically, it's a professional social networking site. So there's a lot of similarities between sites like Facebook, but LinkedIn is more geared towards developing a professional networking connection. I met with a student recently who had said, well, why would I want to be friends with my faculty members? A lot of your faculty in the School of Business previously worked at companies, and so they have a lot of professional connections at companies like Ford, GM, Quicken Loans, Ally Financial. So by connecting with them, you're expanding your professional network. So again, it's a professional social networking site. So any of your staff members, your faculty, if you're involved at all, or in a student organization, you have a faculty advisor, those may be really great individuals to connect with. It's designed to help people, I'm going to kind of mention this, make business connections. You can share your experiences. You can learn more about what people do in different job areas if you're trying to narrow down what you want your career scope to be within the broad scope of your major. But LinkedIn also has a really well-developed job search site. And so you can also apply directly through LinkedIn. You can connect with recruiters through LinkedIn. So overall, it's a really helpful tool if you're in an internship or a job search process right now. And then I mentioned, in a sense, it's similar to making friends or friend requesting someone on Facebook, but you're making professional networking connections. You'll have that same kind of news feed where you can share and like content. A lot of recruiters will post job opportunities or professional development opportunities in the area, and you can also directly message recruiters or professional networking connections if you want to learn more about what they do or learn more about a company. LinkedIn kind of gives you the platform to do that. The other benefit is you can post things like your accomplishments, your recommendations. People can give you referrals through LinkedIn, which is really helpful if you're trying to kind of promote yourself within a professional realm. But I also think what's beneficial is within the School of Business, if you have less than 10 years of work experience, we require that you have a one-page resume. However, you can add additional content to your LinkedIn profile, and then you can put that LinkedIn link on your resume. So while your resume may be restricted to one page, all of the additional content is still accessible in a job search process when a recruiter is looking through your resume. And if they want to learn more, then they can go directly to your LinkedIn profile. So kind of in all facets, a very helpful tool that you should have well developed. I mentioned some of these on the previous slide. Why use LinkedIn? Recruiters actively use LinkedIn to seek out potential candidates. So I know a number of students that have gotten direct messages through LinkedIn from a recruiter, say at Ally Financial. I found your profile. I see that you're looking for an internship. Love to set up a time to talk with you. So there's some benefit in expressing openly on LinkedIn that you are in the process of looking for an internship or a job. It helps you develop and maintain those networking relationships. So if you met with someone at a career fair and you didn't get their business card, but you remember their name, you can connect with them on LinkedIn and send that thank you message that you would have sent after the career fair anyways. So kind of an added step for networking. You can also add a photo to your profile. So if you're sending a follow-up thank you email after a career fair and you also connect with them on LinkedIn, they're not only seeing your name in that email, but they're seeing your face on your LinkedIn profile, which can help them understand that you met with them and remind them who you are. LinkedIn has a full-featured career board, which I mentioned, which is a great resource if you're looking for an internship or a full-time job right now. And then it's compatible with a number of employment services. So if you're applying directly through Ford's website or GM's website, a lot of times it'll allow you to log in to that recruiting platform through your LinkedIn profile. So you're not having to retype everything out every time you submit a new job application. So you need a professional photo. You must be professionally dressed. It really is just a headshot, so from the chest up. So if you are at home, which hopefully right now all of you are staying home, you can just put on a collared shirt or a sweater, have someone take a photo of you against a plain colored wall, use that profile picture for now. It must clearly show your face, doesn't need to be a full body image, and should not be a full body shot because we want someone to be able to see your face, your distinguishing features. And no selfies. So we get a lot of selfies in past semesters of people taking selfies in the car. It shouldn't be a photo that you would put on Facebook. It's a professional picture. Your headline, which is going to be the line of information that appears directly under your photo on your profile, should include your major, your year in school, Wayne State University, Mike Ilitch School of Business. So something like accounting junior at Wayne State University, Mike Ilitch School of Business. You can write it out just like that. Make sure you're spelling Ilitch correctly. A lot of students add 2 L's there. It should just be 1. And then if you are currently working in your industry, you can also add accounting junior at Wayne State University, Mike Ilitch School of Business, tax intern at KPMG. All of that information should fit in your headline. And then on the flip of that, if you are currently in an internship or in a job search, you could put something like supply chain junior at Wayne State University, Mike Ilitch School of Business, seeking a purchasing internship, to really highlight to a recruiter that you're actively looking for a position. Your summary, which on your profile is going to be like the about section or about me, needs to be 3 to 5 well-developed sentences or statements. They don't have to be complete sentences. You don't have to use I. And that process should be the first sentence really revisiting your educational background that's related to Wayne State University. Discuss any of the relevant experience, skills, accomplishments. Think about the things that you included in your elevator pitch. That may be the 2 middle or 3 middle sentences that you use in the summary. And then you're going to wrap up that summary section with what you're looking for after graduation. So if you're currently looking for a full-time position in purchasing or in auditing, you would want to have that be the final sentence of the summary. And this is just a basic example of the type of language that you might use. Please don't copy this verbatim, but you can use something like this and just kind of replace the skills and the experiences with your own personal experiences. So moving on, the experience section. In the experience section, you have to include the position title, company name, the date range during which you were employed, and then you have to include a description. A lot of students don't include descriptions on their LinkedIn profile, and it should be an extension of your resume. So you don't just want to take the couple of bullet points that you have on your resume. You have more space in LinkedIn to really delve into your skills and experiences, what you did in your past positions. So try to add a little bit of additional content in the experience descriptions on LinkedIn that's not just directly pulled from your resume. So if you don't have work experience, make sure you're following the same process: position title, company name, date range, description for an activity or a volunteering opportunity that you've had. And then I mentioned kind of adding a little bit more detail and content versus what's just on your resume. So you should tell a bigger story within LinkedIn. On your resume, a bullet point might read, grew sales by 25% by implementing referral program and expanding your customer base. Your LinkedIn profile, you can add a little bit more detail about how you did that. How did you grow sales by 25%? And that second LinkedIn profile bullet point there kind of elaborates on how you might add in more content and detail. Exactly what your education section on LinkedIn should look like. So you need to include your school, degree, major, and your graduation year. You will have to manually type out Wayne State University, Mike Ilitch School of Business. Once you get to the Mike Ilitch part, it should auto-populate from the drop-down menu. Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, it's not going to auto-populate. So a lot of students will put Bachelor of Business Administration. It needs to read Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So type out the whole thing, use appropriate capitalization exactly as it's shown here, and then you want your major, I think it's field of study when you're going to actually enter in the education section, but you want it to read exactly as your major reads in DegreeWorks. So a lot of times for supply chain, it'll auto correct to supply chain and logistics management. That's not the name of your major. It should read exactly as your major is listed in DegreeWorks. And then you have the opportunity to add your grad year there, so you need to do that as well. Don't include your high school. On your LinkedIn profile, it should just be the education section for college. Skills section, relatively straightforward. You need to have at least 5 skills. Again, think about transferable skill sets, communication, customer service, organization. Those are all things that you can add onto your LinkedIn profile. You add interest to your profile by following companies, schools, or groups. So if there are companies in the area, Ford, GM, you want to go automotive. Maybe you're really interested in the healthcare field, so you're following companies like Beaumont, Henry Ford Hospital. Those are all great things that you can follow, and it'll show up in the interest section on your profile. You need to have at least 20 connections. There really shouldn't be any reason why you don't have 20 connections on LinkedIn, but do keep in mind that when you connect with someone, they do have to accept that connection, and that can take a little bit of time. So go ahead and request 30, 40 connections right now, and then you want to make sure you join the 2 Wayne State University pages. So Wayne State University Mike Ilitch School of Business, which is the school, and then the Wayne State University Students and Alumni Group, which is a group. So you can filter when you go to look for these. You can filter by school and filter by groups, and you should be able to find both of these. After doing this, go ahead, start updating your LinkedIn profile. If you have questions, you're not sure if you've done something right, feel free to email me the link to your profile and ask your. So I briefly want to talk about how to build a strong LinkedIn network. You should start by joining some professional alumni and career groups. So I've worked with some students in the past that have been really interested in finding international positions, or worked with international students that are looking to obtain employment in the United States. There are tons of student groups that you can join based on your individual career interests. So that's a really great way to connect with other students, not only at Wayne State, not only in the Detroit area, but kind of across the United States and across the globe. So I would keep that in mind and kind of look into how you might be able to build your LinkedIn network by joining some of those groups. You also want to start by building your network strategically. The way that LinkedIn works is you need to make a connection with someone, and when you make that connection with someone, you then have access to more of their connections. So initially, you may not have the option to connect with a lot of people because you're building your network from the ground up, which is why I typically advise start with staff members that have a lot of recruiting contacts, like people in career planning and placement. Start with your faculty that have a lot of professional contacts in the area. That's going to open up a lot more doors. You also want to be relatively thoughtful when you're starting to establish these networking connections. So start with people you know personally, family members, relatives. All of those can allow you to open up some additional connections. You also want to choose quality over quantity. So don't just go in and accept, 100 friend requests or connections on LinkedIn. You want them to be people that are going to help you progress forward in your career path. So it may not be helpful for some of you if you're looking to work in finance that you have 100 networking connections for students in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. It would be more beneficial for you to have quality connections with people who work in finance at Hans Group or Ally Financial. And then you do want to focus on nurturing your network, and this is typically through my work in career planning and placement where I see students fall off a little bit. You have to intentionally put forth effort to develop and maintain these relationships. So if you met with an individual at a career fair, you want to make sure that you're following up with them. Every couple of months, find a reason to like something on someone's wall, comment on something that they posted, or send them a message via LinkedIn and set up a time to speak over the phone. There's a number of different ways that you can kind of grow these relationships in LinkedIn, but it should be an intentional effort on your part to grow and develop those relationships. So I mentioned this, it also can be really helpful if you're currently in an internship search, connect with recruiters. Maybe you're really interested in working at Quicken Loans. Find some people who are working in a department at Quicken Loans that are of interest to you and connect with them. That's a great way to develop some relationships at companies that you may want to work for in the future. And when you're reaching out to recruiters, you don't just want to reach out and say, "Hi, I'm currently looking for an internship. What opportunities do you have available?" You're not explicitly reaching out and asking for a job. Instead, you're reaching out to develop a networking relationship that down the road may turn into an internship opportunity or may give you more leverage when you go to apply for a position at that company. So you want to approach recruiters by asking questions about the company. You might say, "Hi Denzel, I found you as a result of your involvement with Quicken Loans. I have a few questions about your company's culture and the industry focus. I'd love to speak with you over the phone or via email." So there's kind of a note there, and you should always add a note if you're cold connecting. So similar to cold calling, you're reaching out to somebody that you've never met in person before. And even if you've met with someone at a career fair, I would still add a note just so they remember who you are. But you want to include something like this message at the bottom so that you're giving a next action step so that you can set up a phone call or get an email address for that individual. So last portion of this lecture, I just want to briefly talk about using LinkedIn as a job search tool. So if you're applying for positions through LinkedIn, you want to make sure you keep your profile up to date. If you're looking for a job search, I mentioned this, you can put it in your headline, you should put it in the about or the summary section. Get recommendations and endorsements. If you're currently at an employer and they know you're looking for a job, reach out and ask them to put a recommendation on your profile. This can really elevate your application, and it's also nice to see that someone is supporting you in that professional realm. Gives a little bit of validation to the experiences that you have on your profile. At the top of your LinkedIn profile, you want to use the Jobs tab, which is a little briefcase. And what I typically advise for students, say you're a supply chain student right now, you have no idea what you want to do within the scope of supply chain. Go and look at logistics job descriptions, purchasing job descriptions, procurement job descriptions. You may not understand everything in those job descriptions, but a lot of times reading a job description might pique your interest in an industry, in a specific career area like logistics or purchasing, may pique your interest about a given company. That can be a really great way to kind of start that process of researching career options, and all it entails is you doing a quick search and reading job descriptions. I do encourage students to set up job alerts. So if you are actively looking for internships, set up a weekly search alert. You'll get one email per week from LinkedIn with all of the new positions that have been posted within a given time frame. This is a great way for you to not have to kind of duplicate the work of looking for jobs every day. LinkedIn's going to send you a nice email. Here are all of the new positions, and then you can methodically work through that email and apply to the jobs that are most of interest to you. And then you also have the option to openly let recruiters know that you're open to opportunities. So in the top, I believe it's the top corner of your profile, you click on Me, you go to Settings and Privacy tab. Under Job Seeking Preferences, you can change the let recruiters know that you're open to opportunities from no to yes, and that will show up when recruiters are looking for someone in finance and you've checked that box, you're going to show up in that search. So there's some benefit to using that as well. Okay, and just one last thing I want to point out. So a lot of students will come to me and they say, well, I'm paying for the paid version of LinkedIn right now, which does open up some additional outlets for you. But as students, the free version of LinkedIn is enough for you to get what you need out of that system. So I don't advise paying for it. I think there's enough functionality on that free version that if you follow the steps that I outlined in this lecture, you should be able to use LinkedIn very effectively, regardless of whether you're in a job search, an internship search, or you're just looking to develop professional networking connections.